Welcome everyone to David Dudley Outdoors, and yes, today's video is inspired by you guys. Every time I have recorded in this studio room or my trophy room, you guys have been leaving comments, wanting to know, get close up of the trophies, wanting to see the trophies. So yes, we're not only going to show you the trophies, I'm going to tell you the story behind the story of getting the trophy. And a lot of you won't know the backstories of me, whether it's sleeping in my truck, climbing through the woods or whatever. All these trophies have a story behind them. And today I'm going to talk about how I won $700,000 in a bass tournament. That's a lot of money, but what you don't know is the story behind the story that I technically only won $350,000. So stay with me on this one. So it was March 2nd, 2002. I had to cheat and look at the year. March 2nd, 2002. Let me give you the backstory on this. I was broke as broke could get, okay? I had no money. I was living at the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and I was a guide, saltwater guide, doing a lot of guiding. In the summer months, when you start getting into the spring and summer, that's when you really start picking up some business, and when the tourists start coming into the beach. I was broke. I had credit card debt out the wazoo, okay? And my best friend called me and he said, "Hey, you going to fish at Millennium this year?" I said, "Man, nah, I'm not going to fish it." He's like, "Why not?" Because the previous Millennium, I'd done very well in that one. I think there was only 2 Millenniums, Ranger Millenniums out there. And I did very well in the one before. And he asked me, he said, "Hey, are you going to fish that tournament?" I said, "Nah." I said, I was doing so well in guiding, all I could focus on was paying off that credit card debt, paying off that credit card debt, paying off that credit card debt. And finally, he goes, "Man," he goes, "you ought to fish it. You done well." Well, I went like this. I said, "Well, I tell you what." I said, "If you want me to fish a tournament," I said, "you pay the entry fee and I'll split whatever I win with you. But I said, you got to pay everything, the entry fees, the hotel, the gas, everything." I just threw it out there at him. He's like, "Yeah, let me think about it." Well, I went on guiding for a couple days. He called me back and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "I'm going to take you up on that deal." I was like, "Well, you have to pay everything," because I didn't, I'm in my mind, every day I'm away, I'm losing money. So I said, "All right." So he ended up paying the entry fee for me, paid my hotel, paid my gas bill. So here we are. I'm off to Mobile Delta trying to win $700,000. And we get there and I start fishing, and I'm there like 6 or 7 days early. Now, as you can see behind me, I'm getting ready to explain why this looks odd, okay? Why this looks odd. This is probably my best trophy in this whole trophy room, just because of the story behind it. So I get to the Mobile Delta, I pull out the old paper maps. We didn't even have GPS back then. So I'm looking at paper maps and I'm trying to find all these backwaters that go out off the river. And it's what you call an oxbow. Oxbows are places that the river used to flow. They got sealed off. Oxbows are just backwaters off the river. So I found this one oxbow, okay? And this one oxbow had a bunch of, the creek, the little outflow that led into it had some trees and laydowns and all that kind of stuff on it. Well, I went in my boat and pulled it up there as far as I could go. And when I got there, I parked the boat, got out, walked the little ditch up there, and I went out up through the woods, and I looked up there and I was like, "Wow, that looks just gorgeous up there." It almost looked like the promised land. I don't know what the promised land looked like, but it looked like the promised land. So then I come back the next day. I said, "You know what? If I could cut some logs out in there, I could get my boat up in there." I took a stick to see how deep it was in there. So I go all the way up, get up in the oxbow. I start taking my chainsaw and practice cutting it out, cutting. I get to like one of the last few logs, and I was so dumb about cutting logs. I didn't know how to cut logs. I was just taking the chainsaw going down. Well, I took a chainsaw, went down, and it boom, pinched my blade. I couldn't get that thing out of that log for nothing. So I had to unbolt the chainsaw blade, leave it in there, and then the tournament was going to start. Now, I found some fish just fishing, but the actual promised land, I'd never made a cast in there before. So the tournament goes to start. I buy another blade, a chainsaw, and the tournament starts. Well, I go to my best fishing area when the tournament starts, and it was a pretty good area. I ended up, I don't know what I caught. I caught a good bag in this area. Well, I was like, man, that's pretty cool. You know, I don't need, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about that oxbow, and I really don't need it. So I go to this area the second day, go back in there, catch enough to qualify. And I'm like, well, darn, that's good. So now we're entering the third day of the Millennium. And I still, in the back of my mind, know that if I could get in there, I could do some good. I don't know. But I caught enough fish just fishing in other oxbows to do well. So I go up there, and let me back up. The last day, which is day 3, the last day of the event, I get to the boat ramp and I see the water is extremely high. We had an ebb tide then. Water was super high. I knew right then and there, I said, I'm going to that oxbow. I'm rolling the dice. I know I've never been in there. I've never made a cast in there, but it just looked gorgeous. I said, I'm going to try my best to get in there. So I had the chainsaw on the boat. We get up there. We go all the way up there. I get to that same log. I cut it out. I blow all the way up in there, get in there, and I'm shaking. Like I'm shaking because I think I know that they're going to be in there. I have no idea. Well, anyways, I get up there and like the first log I pitch at, I catch a 3-pounder. And I only have like an hour and a half to fish. So I went through that area pretty fast, just highlighting all the obvious stuff. Laydowns, bam, 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 bam. I catch like 16 pounds, okay? Well, I catch 16 pounds or something like that, get in the boat, come all the way back, go into check-in. So now comes time to weigh in, of course. Naturally, I win the tournament. I win $700,000. But here's the cool thing. This trophy right here didn't come to an idea until on the way home. So I'm pumping gas. And remember in the story when I said in practice I started cutting all these logs out, getting everything done? I was pumping gas and looked over in the corner. I was so muddy and so wet that day. Before I got in my truck, I took off all my clothes and threw them in the back seat. And I think I put my rain suit back on. It was raining that day. Put my rain suit back on and was naked underneath my rain suit. Put all my clothes, threw them in the back. So I'm pumping gas and I see all my clothes all sitting there. I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to put these in a case just for a reminder. So check this out. If you look here real closely, now the jig that I was throwing was the dumbest looking jig ever. And I even put it says the lone pair of jigs used to lure in the winning sack, second Millennium, March 2002. So they had a lot of blue crabs. It's a tidal fishing water. I used a jig that looked like a blue crab. I've never thrown that jig ever again in the history of my knowing. I caught all my fish to qualify on that jig. Now this is the actual jigs that I used to win $700,000. So this is just an old Berkeley, I think J. Yellis jig is what it used to be, made by Berkeley, black and blue with the blue sapphire chunk. I still have the knots that I was tying when I won them. So I even have the rod that I won. This is the actual chainsaw blade, and it says this was used to cut and clear the path into the oxbow. The socks I got to shoot. You can even see the mud on the shoes here. This was an old Quantum Tour Edition rod. that was probably monofilament. I doubt we had fluorocarbon back then, but it looks like 20-pound test fluorocarbon. But it's just cool. You can see the jeans, ripped up jeans, old flannel shirt, old t-shirt, pinned, got mud stains on them. That was the hat that I was wearing. But just a cool story. So now I'm going to end the story with this. So I won the tournament. And I'm thinking my best friend's going to be the first phone call to come in. And I was still using bag phones back in the day. And I had just got like a little cell phone, just a general little cell phone. So I was thinking that day, my best friend's going to call me. First one to ring in on my phone. Well, my phone's blowing up. Texting hadn't even got popular yet. So my phone's blowing up. And I'm out to eat with my wife. And I said, hey. She goes, have you heard from your best friend yet? I said, no, I ain't. I said, I can't believe it. So I dial him up in a steakhouse. I said, hey, BFF. I said, hey, what's up? He goes, hey, man, what's going on? I said, oh, nothing much. And I'm thinking, like, he ain't said a word yet. And we do a little chit chat. I said, hey, I fished that tournament this week. He's like, oh my gosh, yeah, I totally forgot about that. He goes, how did you do? And I'm looking at the phone and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, dude, I won it. He's like, no way. No, I won the tournament. He's like, and then he goes crazy and all that kind of stuff. Well, I got home that week, deposited a check, turned around, wrote him a check for $350,000, just on my word. So yes, I did win $700,000, but I technically won $350,000. Fair is fair. He paid my entry fees, and the way I look at it, I never would have went there if he didn't sponsor me and pay my entry fees. I wouldn't have won $350,000. So I've had a lot of people say, "Man, that would have been hard to write that check to." I was like, "How is that hard to write a check?" I said, "My man paid everything. I gave him my word." And yeah, I was happy to go $350,000. So the story behind the story is this. Yes, I did win $700,000, but I split it with the sponsor that sponsored me to get there. I was super excited. So if you can see here, right? If you can see here, I got a lot of storytelling. A lot of storytelling to do. Everywhere from fishing for USA Bass. We got some awesome stories of how we got the gold medal here, silver medals. I got the classic, when I fished the Bassmaster Classic, Millennium, all my Angler of the Year trophies, just all of these trophies right here. And I don't even have, but some of them here. There's a lot of story time in behind it. And thank you guys for suggesting me with videos, because a lot of times I just take it for granted. But yes, as you can see, we got a lot of stories to tell. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. You guys that have watched this, you guys have been phenomenal to me. Make sure if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We got a lot of things to come to you about in the fishing world in general, and I appreciate y'all, and I'm out.